بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين.
Interpretation of the Holy Quran.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. With the grace of Allah, we begin to have a brief commentary of Quran. We reach to chapter Baqara, the longest chapter of Quran, which is revealed in Medina. Please listen to verse 235.
ولا جناح عليكم فيما عرضتم به من خطبة النساء أو أكننتم في أنفسكم علم الله أنكم ستذكرونهن ولكن لا تواعدوهن سرا إلا أن تقولوا قولا معروفا ولا تعزموا عقدة النكاح حتى يبلغ الكتاب أجله واعلموا أن الله يعلم ما في أنفسكم فاحذروه واعلموا أن الله غفور حليم.
And there is no blame on you respecting that which you speak indirectly in the asking of women in marriage or keep concealed within your minds. Allah knows that you will mention them, but do not give them a promise in secret unless you speak in a lawful manner, and do not confirm the marriage until the writing is fulfilled. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ فَاحْذَرُوهُ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ حَلِيمٌ. And now that Allah knows what is in your minds, therefore beware of Him, and know that Allah is forgiving, forbearing. In previous verse, Allah talks about those people who die and leave their wives. Allah said it is obligated for the women to wait for some time, and they are not allowed to marry to anybody. But there is a question that, okay, in that period, is there any possibility to ask the marriage, to propose, or it is forbidden? Allah says, وَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي مَا عَرَّضْتُمْ بِهِ مِنْ خِطْبَةِ النِّسَاءِ. خِطْبَةِ النِّسَاء, it means to propose, to ask for a marriage. عَرَّضْتُمْ بِهِ, it means to request them for the marriage, but not directly, indirectly. For example, to tell to a lady that your husband, for example, was a good person, you lost him, but I believe there are many people who can love you, or you are very beautiful, or you are the one that many people like to marry you, something like that. That it is not directly but indirectly shows that you are interested in her. Allah says, وَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي مَا عَرَّضْتُمْ بِهِ. If you want to talk to them and propose, if you do it indirectly, that's okay, and there is no problem with that. أو أكننتم في أنفسكم, or you keep in your heart that you love her, you want to marry her. This is not a big deal, and it is not, there is no any problem for that. only Allah wants to tell the people that when a person's husband passed away, you should keep respect for that. At the same time that you can ask for the marriage, you can propose. At the same time, you should not ask directly, because their feelings, there is a possibility that they will be hurt. There are a few messages that we can get from this verse. Allah said, you can propose but indirectly. At the same time that Allah says He knows that what is going on in your heart, either you like her or you want to talk to her, but Allah says He knows that, but it is better not to talk directly and not to talk even secretly. وَلَكِنْ لَا تُوَاعِدُوهُنَّ سِرًّا. Don't promise them in secret that I'm going to marry you. Be sure that she is not in a good circumstances. Wait for some times. If you want to propose indirectly until the time will finish. Allah says, إِلَّا أَن تَقُولُوا قَوْلًا مَعْرُوفًا. Allah says, unless if you want to talk to her, you will talk with the manner, in a lawful manner, in the way that you become sure that is not going to hurt her. Then Allah says, وَلَا تَعْزِمُوا عُقْدَةَ النِّكَاحِ. Definitely in that period you must not marry her. Perform the marriage is wrong. حَتَّى يَبْلُغَ الْكِتَابَ أَجَلَهُ. Until that time will finish. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ فَاحْذَرُوهُ. Be sure that Allah knows what is going on in your heart. If you go and perform the marriage and you know what is forbidden for you, and this is forbidden, be sure that Allah knows what is going on in your heart, that you have knowledge of that, and you will be punished. Or in another word, we can explain in such a way that when it says, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ فَاحْذَرُوهُ, Allah knows that you love to go and marry and propose the marriage, talk to her directly, and you are in a hurry. But فَاحْذَرُوهُ, be very careful and try to protect yourself, keep yourself far from her. Wait for some times and be careful about the duty, your duties toward Allah. Allah said you are not allowed to perform the marriage. Even you want to talk to her, talk indirectly. And Allah knows that if you do it, definitely you will be punished. And Allah is aware of that. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ حَلِيمٌ. But only if you keep in your heart, and you will not be able to be patient, be sure that Allah is going to forgive that and there is no problem for it. There are a few messages that we can get from this verse. One, when Allah says, وَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ فِي مَا عَرَّضْتُمْ بِهِ مِنْ خِطْبَةِ النِّسَاءِ, there is no blame on you when you propose the women, such a woman whose husband passed away indirectly. من خطبة النساء, it means to propose the marriage. Allah wants to say that Allah knows your nature. Allah knows that you have desires and passions, and it is a sexual desires, and for some people is so strong. Allah knows that and pays attention to it, and because of that Allah says if you talk indirectly, that is okay. But when Allah says indirectly, arraztum bih, Allah wants that the family will not be hurt, their feeling will not be hurt, because one of them passed away and they don't like to talk about these issues at that time. Then Allah says, عَلِمَ اللَّهُ أَنَّكُمْ سَتَذْكُرُونَهُنَّ وَلَكِنْ لَا تُوَاعِدُوهُنَّ سِرًّا. Allah says that He knows that you will mention them. It means you remember them, you will mention them for yourself, you are thinking about them, and it is not a problem, and Allah knows what is going on in your heart. But you must control yourself and do not give a promise to them in secret in such a circumstances. Don't try to go here and there, talk to them in secretly. Allah is aware and it is not accepted. إلا أن تقولوا قولا معروفا. Allah says, unless you speak in a lawful manner, it means unless you speak with them, even in secret, in such a way that you will be sure that she will not be hurt. If you are sure that she will not be bothered, she will not be hurt, that's okay. And it is قولا معروف, in a lawful manner, with a beautiful sentence, with a nice words, that is okay. Otherwise, it is not accepted. Then Allah says, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا فِي أَنفُسِكُمْ فَاحْذَرُوهُ. And now that Allah knows what is in your minds, it means if you think properly that Allah knows all the details, anything that you have in your hearts, then you will be able to control yourself. All of us, we commit sin because we forget that Allah is aware of us. Allah's knowledge is everywhere. Allah knows what is going on in our hearts, and He reminds us that Allah knows everything. فَاحْذَرُوهُ. And because of that, be very careful. فَاحْذَرُوهُ, it means therefore beware of Him, beware of Allah. It means because of the sexual desires, don't try to exceed the limits. The limits, it means at the same time that you know she is not in a good time, at the same time that you know she will be bothered, you will go and propose the marriage, and it is haram and forbidden because it is bothering her, and you know that. Allah says, Inna Allah ghafurun halim. Allah is forgiving, forbearing. It means although you are not patient and you cannot keep yourself and you want to talk to her, Allah says, okay, that's okay. Go and talk, but indirectly, and be sure that Allah is forgiving and Allah is forbearing. We ask Allah to help us to control our passions, especially in the time of marriage, especially when we face somebody that we know it is not illegal, it is not lawful to have a relation with her for any reason. We request Allah to help us to control ourselves. And when we marry, not to look at anybody else with the passions and desires, and to be sure that it is going to hurt our family if we will not be able to control our desires. Thank you very much for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.